Sua and Luca share more similarities than you may think. For example, their nicknames are associated with certain fairy tale characters. More specifically, fairy tale characters who are technically royalty, but with living conditions not very fortunate. Sua's nicknames are not as widely known because they have not been shown in the music videos. However, she has been directly depicted as Little Snow White in art by Vivinos that now seems to have been deleted. This snow theme continues through her other nicknames as well, such as when she was referred to as the Snowflake Doll by Mitzi in this comic. And in the Drawing Bloom Patreon post, it was revealed that her official nickname is the Ice Princess. Luca's nicknames, on the other hand, do show up in the music videos, so they are more well known. His fans call him the Prince, and the media says he's caused Luca syndrome. But the Prince not only refers to his princely stage persona and command over the stage, but also to the tale of the Little Prince. In terms of appearance, Scylla and Luca both match the descriptions of their characters in their respective fairy tales. Snow White's birth mother, the Queen, pricked her finger while sewing by a window, looking at snow. The three colors she saw were so pretty that she wished for her daughter to be born with these colors: white from snow, red from blood, and black from the window frame. The tale states soon after that she had a little daughter, who was as white as snow and as red as blood, and her hair was black as ebony, and she was therefore called Little Snow White. Later in the story, we learn that the red refers to her pretty red cheeks, which made her look so alive that even 3 days after she died from eating the poison apple, she looked like she was just sleeping. Unlike the tale of Snow White, however, we do not get many descriptions about the little prince's appearance, other than the fact that he was small. He was from a different world than the narrator. The narrator is a human on Earth, a pilot who gave up on drawing as a child because the grown ups around him could not see beneath the surface level of what he was trying to depict in his drawings. Even when he explained it to them, they dismissed it and advised him to give up drawing, telling him that what's inside or outside doesn't matter, and that he should pursue what they consider more important subjects, ones that are supposedly more concrete and less philosophical. But the little prince who came from another planet could see what he truly drew. While the text describes only his tiny size, we know that he is blonde from the book's cover. The reason for this lack of description is likely due to the book's primary theme, which emphasizes the importance of spending time to understand others rather than jumping to conclusions based on arbitrary standards used to measure success, such as outer appearances and numbers. I think many of you know that Luca was very small as a child, especially considering he is the oldest of the main cast. And this continues into adulthood as well. He is the shortest of the three male characters, and overall only taller than Mitzi and Sua. Aside from the fact that their physical traits resemble their respective fairy tale models, Sua and Luca's outfits share similar motifs as well. The most obvious similarity is that their outfits are primarily white. However, I would like to draw your attention to the inclusion of bows. In the first stage outfits we see them in, Sua's bow is much more noticeable because it's positioned on the front of her chest, while Luca's is tied to the back of his neck. In other outfits or variations, we see that Sua typically has bows atop her head and shoulders, and Luca usually has them tied around his neck and waist. Now, let's stop and think about the purpose of bows. What are they used for? Along with frills, bows are used to make something more pretty, right? You use them to decorate gifts and securely tie up what's inside. That's exactly their function in this case as well. Pretty, delicate, obedient, and fragile. That's the image that both Sua and Luca have. They are presented as desirable objects and symbols of their alien owner's wealth, as well as the control they have over their pets. The perfect dolls to be decorated and restrain their inner selves. To further my point about the role of bows in Alien Stage, I would like to remind everyone that Mitzi also has a bow tied to her hair in round 5. But unlike Sua and Luca, her bow comes off at the end of the round. Her hair becomes loose, messy, and disheveled. And her stage outfit, which was most likely chosen by the aliens after Sua died, is ripped apart by the end as well. I think it is worth noting that her dress begins to rip from her own actions, not from being restrained by the guards. She gains autonomy through her own efforts, whether she realizes she was previously under the control of aliens or not. In this image, we can even see Misi undoing or slipping the bow strap off of her shoulder with her own hands. Notice how she has double wings along with her short hair, foreshadowing the trajectory of her character growth and becoming her own person. Back to Sua and Luca. Why did I spend so much time talking about this when I started this video off with fairy tales? As I've said before, these two are pretty. And I mean that kinetically, not according to my own tastes. They are known for their good looks, and as a result, entered the entertainment industry earlier than other pet humans. In this comic, we learn that Sua was the first in her class to do so. At one point, she grew out her hair for a photo shoot. We can see from the reaction of her peers that she looked very attractive. And although a classmate tried to compliment her by saying she has a small head size, which is a beauty standard in Korea, it actually triggered a memory of her trauma. Like Snow White, she was the object of envy because of her looks. From this small piece of dialogue, we can assume that the reason why Sua was her mother's favorite was due to her appearance and submissive behavior. In the next page, we see that her guardian is an alien who resembles a queen bee. She has multiple human pets, whom she seems to treat more like accessories rather than living beings to take care of. When I first saw this image, it reminded me of a stereotypical rich lady who dresses her poodles up and kisses them for pictures, but pushes them aside once the photo is taken. In the same way, we see that Sua's guardian gives all her pet humans the same frilly outfit to elevate or complement her own. In the Mitzi Sua video, she wears this outfit but is provided nothing else. Mitzi's box was full of toys to comfort her, while Sua sits alone, quietly. She remains still as her guardian roughly shoves her into the box. Despite this, her expression is lifeless because she was taught to be like a doll as much as possible. This has to do with how she was raised. Some of her pet siblings would bully her into not standing out, while others would try to correct her bad habits. In this comic titled Heavenly Garden, we learn that Sua loved her Unni, which means older sister in Korean, but not necessarily biologically related. But this older sister's treatment towards Sua is not easy to summarize in one word. She calls Sua dumb, but expresses that she'll be worried she'll die because of it. She calls her fidgeting unsightly, but hugs her and praises her for being cute. When she tells her she'll die for being dumb, is she making fun of her? Or is she truly concerned for her well-being? Well, we learn from this comic that the children who died in the garden are burnt to ashes and scattered among the living children, like snowflakes. So it is clear that the older sister knows what kind of place it is exactly. And judging by how much older she seems than Sua, she's likely very familiar with what their mother's likes and dislikes are. Otherwise, she wouldn't have survived that long. By correcting Sua's bad habits, she is teaching her to become what their guardian likes and therefore ensures that she has a better chance at survival. By telling her that she could go pop and die and then be burnt to ashes, she is instilling a strong fear in Sua so that she'll be on her best behavior and survive. Some would call it tough love. Or maybe it's not like that at all. Maybe she is saying this out of jealousy for being the only one to go to Anarch Garden, the prestigious kindergarten where she would at least be away from their mother's side and possibly gain a bit of freedom. Maybe she's taking out her jealousy on Sua under the guise of care. Personally, I believe it's a mixture of both. Whatever the reason, it doesn't change the fact that this older sister ultimately contributed to stripping Sua of her individuality and self-expression, teaching her to become the doll that their mother wanted her to be. In similar ways, Luca was also stripped of his individuality. Except there was an extra layer of complication due to the origin of his birth. Although not confirmed, his birthday art from 2 years ago implied that he was grown in a tube or a lab. I say implied because while it could be that he was born in a more artificial manner, there is still a possibility that he had a natural birth and that the others in the tubes were created after him. Not saying that the experiments didn't exist before him, just that the details of Luca and his identical clones are still unclear. Who knows? Maybe they are more like siblings rather than clones. And that's exactly the thing. Many things are still unconfirmed in alien stage on purpose. What I do know for sure is that DNA gives all living beings their unique code, their individuality. And there is a chance that Luca's was not bestowed upon him by God or by nature, but chosen by the aliens instead. This ad on the Alien Stage website states that the aliens can choose whatever they like in a human multi-shop. It shows a picture of DNA next to Luca, suggesting Luca is either a successful case of gene editing or that you can choose to create a human with the same desirable traits. But how exactly? Is it through selective breeding? Cloning? Gathering DNA from blood and inserting them in already grown bodies? My guess is that anything we tried in our world, they've already done as well, and perhaps even more. So the various different methods will probably be revealed as a part of each character's backstories. But for now, I am leaning towards believing that Luca specifically underwent a process called dwarfing. Like the name suggests, it results in shortened statures compared to the average standards. According to the Wikipedia page on dwarfing, it can be intentional or as a side effect, but it happens through nutritional, genetic, and/or hormonal means. The page lists many causes, and Luca has been shown to experience most. For example, starvation. In this comic, we learn that Luca was not allowed to eat much despite being the one with the biggest appetite. Mitzi also refrains from eating the sweets she wanted because she was put on a diet. But in Luca's case, it was probably referring to the amount of food he ate in general, not just during dieting periods. The reasoning could be to keep him on the slim side in order to keep him within the beauty standards of the entertainment industry, or it could be to keep him from experiencing new things and developing his own likes and dislikes. The less you know, the less you think. The less you think for yourself, the less likely you are to rebel. And so, the little prince was forced to remain little as he lived in his little world. Next, renal disease. Renal disease is a kidney disease, and we can see that Luca has scars resembling those you would get from kidney transplants. With the abundance of bodies that look identical to Luca, it would not be surprising if they were used as his spare parts. And finally, hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism in children can present as symptoms such as lack of energy, droopy eyes, delayed puberty, and poor mental development. Think about it this way. Imagine Luca as a bonsai tree. Through the art of bonsai, what would have grown into a regular-sized tree is constantly groomed to be small enough to fit inside a tiny pot. The tree's life is prolonged for hundreds and hundreds of years through regular trimming, shaping, and repotting. Once its roots have grown too big for the pot, the roots begin to die, so they must be chopped off and repotted to grow new roots to replace them. You see how this applies to Luca, right? Regardless of whether Luca had an unnatural birth through being created in a lab or had a natural one through standard human delivery, Luca and his world was cut off and shaped to fit within the small pot the aliens contained him in. This is important because although Luca's guardian claims that there will never be another success such as him, he is still not seen as a living being. Or maybe he is, but it seems like his alien father views him more as proof that he can control Mother Nature herself. Perhaps because his methods produced the successful Luca, he views himself as some sort of god. He even states in the top 3 interview that he believes all of Luca's achievements were due to him and that Luca should be grateful to him because he was the one who created him. But remember, in the original story, the little prince does choose to leave his little planet. He visits a bunch of other small planets before arriving on Earth, where he meets the pilot and the fox. And so his world expands. But what about little Snow White? Snow White dies after biting a poisoned apple. In the case of Alien Stage, will Prince Charming bring her back to life? Or did he die from biting his own poisoned apple? And what about the hunter? Do you remember the role of the hunter in Snow White? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But be warned, I will neither confirm nor deny. I will discuss my own theories and other topics in the next video. I already have the outline for the next few videos prepared, so it won't take as long as this one. Just like how Sua and Luca have nicknames and fairy tales associated with them, Mitzi and Hyuna do as well. Except their stories are not considered fairy tales or children's books. They are considered myths. If you've seen my Twitter post a few years ago, you probably already know Hyuna's. But which myth do you think is associated with Mitzi? With Karma coming out today, it'll probably be easier to guess now. But before I end it, let me add one last thing. Beyond being used by their oppressors to gain money, fame, or status, puppets have another use. Puppets are controlled, used to entertain, and distract.
루카, 사랑하며 살아. 아픔도 나약함도 못 봐주게 부끄러운 순간들도 받아들여. 스스로를 용서해. 몇 번이고 몇 번이고 모든 건 그때부터 시작이야.